Welcome, everyone, to the Mesh Point here on OptionCentral.net. This week from Ferris State University, Rob Zeitman. But first, a word from our brand new sponsor, Coach's Office. John Mr. Organized Anderson for Coach's Office, a leader in football software since 1997, which has produced play drawings, play cards, practice scripts, playbooks, and more. This powerful processing program enables you to quickly and efficiently produce play diagrams using drop-down menus and advanced line drawing tools. Use its built-in page templates, or you can create your own. Use tables and formatting tools for producing great-looking playbooks. You can even print wristbands and create presentations that combine illustrations and video. Prices start as low as $79 for a youth edition. Be sure to mention the promo code CC when you place your order for a special benefit available to our listeners. Get organized today. Get your office and staff organized. Get Coach's Office today. No, go get it right now.
This is the CompuSports Radio Network.
This segment of the Mesh Point is brought to you by Coach's Office, a leader in football software since 1997. CoachesOffice.com. I want to welcome everyone once again to CompuSports Radio's option version of Coach's Corner, and we call this the Mesh Point. I have as my guest from Big Rapids, Michigan, Coach Rob Zeitman from Ferris State University, and I want to give you some stats before we start talking about the Ferris State University program. They start off as a traditional option team, much like Georgia Tech and Navy. They've had the spread passing game, much like Oklahoma State, and he's got the cut-ups to prove it. They're a no-huddle team. Let me tell you what they've accomplished here in their first year at Ferris State. Finished 6th in the NCAA in rushing offense with 306 yards a game, and led the Great Lakes Conference up there, what they call the GLIAC. Is that what you were calling it, Coach?
Yeah, it's the GLIAC Conference.
The GLIAC Conference. Okay. I'm sorry, the GLIAC. I'll get it right here eventually. They finished 15th in the NCAA in total offense, 3rd in the same conference. Set the single-game Ferris State rushing record. They came within 4 yards of the single-game total yards record. They set the single-season Ferris State rushing record. And on a conversion rate on 3rd and 4th down, they're running about 60%. And plus, you knocked off a powerhouse this year in your first year, didn't you, Coach?
Yeah, it's actually we just finished our second year, and we beat them both years, Grand Valley State, which is our arch rival. They're about 45 minutes to our south, and we set both the single season or single game rushing record against them in our first year with 457 yards of rushing, and then we broke it this year against them again with about 465, 66 yards. So we've had some good success. I hadn't beaten Grand Valley State prior to our arrival since 1999, and under Coach Annese and doing these things offensively, we've beaten them 2 years in a row, and we feel like we're getting our program to the point where we're going to be a powerhouse in the GLIAC Conference in Division II football, and we had 8 conference wins this year for the first time since 1996, and we feel really good about where we stand offensively and as a team now.
All right, so we haven't run the applause track yet, so let's welcome Rob Zeitman to the Mesh Point program. Coach, welcome up here to the mountain, and the goats watching, and Psychotic Socks and Super Kitties over on the other counter watching me, looking at me like I'm some sort of idiot, and she's probably right. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started, Coach.
Sure. I spent 17 years in high school football prior to Coach Annese hiring me at Ferris State, and I originally am from Louisville, Kentucky, and I accepted an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy. I played football, was injured there, had shoulder surgery, and kind of messed up my shoulder there and ended up transferring out during my second year and began my coaching career down in Miami, Florida, coaching high school down there for 6 years, and moved up to Michigan where I coached with Coach Annese at Muskegon High School, which is one of the top 10 high schools in terms of wins in the nation, and won a state championship in 2004, then began my head coaching career first in suburban Detroit and then in Grand Rapids, Michigan for 7 years, and before I rejoined Coach Annese at Ferris State.
All right, so your position is offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I'm the assistant head coach and offensive line coach. Really, Coach Annese is the play caller, so we have, myself and Ryan Brady organize the offense with him. Ryan Brady, our quarterback's coach, and so it's really the three of us working in tandem.
Your pistol approach is a little bit different from what I see in a lot of teams because of probably such a short depth. Your quarterback is closer to the center from what I see in a number of teams.
Yeah, we do that, and we have to make a number of accommodations for it. Really, the reason that we do it is that unlike Georgia Tech, unlike the way Paul Johnson, Navy, and Fisher DeBerry at Air Force had taught their quarterbacks, we stepped deep off the snap when we were a flexbone team. So it was some pretty intricate footwork to do. We wanted to get away from the line of scrimmage and then mesh forward with the fullback. So to put us in the short pistol changes all of that footwork, which is pretty intricate, to just pivot-style footwork, and makes it a lot easier on the quarterback. Gives him better vision of handoff keys than he otherwise would have, and just really makes the quarterback a more viable position, because by creating those compromises and making those changes, it allows us to expand our playbook. Because when you're teaching option football, you have to spend so much time at the quarterback position teaching all the footwork that's related to option and all of the ball handling that's related to option. Sometimes your passing mechanics, you have less time to work on than you would otherwise have. So the three-step drop is a heck of a lot easier, because now it's just catch and pitch instead of, working big, little, and transfer of weight, and all of those things. So it makes it a lot easier in that regard. The play action becomes a lot easier. So all of those compromises that we put by using the short pistol are in tune with making the quarterback position easier to play, really.
All right, let's go ahead and set up their spacing and width. The quarterback usually sets about 2.5 yards off of the ball, and the tailback is at, I believe his hand goes down at 5 yards off the ball. Am I correct there so far?
Yeah, we're 2.5 to 3 yards off the ball with the toes of the quarterback, and our running back will put his, in year one we had his hand down all the time. In year two, this past year, we kind of got away from putting his hand down, and that's because we're trying to be a little bit more formation savvy in terms of pistoling up and then putting him adjacent to the quarterback. But you're right, it's typically 3 and 5. We will deepen up, and we'll go to 4 and 6. But normally it's 3 and 5 or 4 and 6 essentially is what we'll do.
Your A-gap linemen are about 3 feet apart. You've got 3.5 between the guard and the tackle in the B-gap. I've noticed in the cut-ups you do a little bit of unbalance. You have great multiple formation variation and motion variation, which is one of the things that we believed in for many years, which a lot of flexbone option teams do not do. You use compressed formations. You run the veer out of almost everything, and it looks like you'll even do it in the press box if we let you. You do the freeze motion thing, which I thought that your explanation for why you use that was very good also. And if you want to see the videos that we're talking about here, just go up to optioncentral.net and run through the resource section, and there's a lot of great videos up there, including Coach Zeitman's, Tony DeMayo's, Larry Beckish, and a number of others. Let's go ahead and talk first about your option drill, because I thought this was fascinating in trying to get the maximum amount of reps. You've got guys switching out all the time, and they're all, of course, working on the same thing, but you've got this pretty intricate and laid out right now.
Yeah, we do it a couple of different ways. We're only working with skilled guys, then we'll work what we call the veer drill. We'll lay a strip down, and we've got a quarterback and a snapper. We'll either have a manager or a center in the drill, and we've got, our running backs and our slots in the drill. And, we're going to go through and work all of our mesh points and At the same time, we're going to be throwing bubble screens because that's a big part. If you're going to stretch the field horizontally, then the bubble screen is going to be part of what you do. So it's something we have to be proficient at, just like meshing is something we have to be very proficient at. So something we work on every day in the veer drills. And then, we'll go to a half line type drill where we've got, half the offensive line on one side, typically on the hash working towards the sidelines, and then on the other hash working towards the sidelines, we've got, the other half, and we're going to go one after another. So we'll work the right side, the left side. They're all working towards the end zone, essentially. We'll put it on about the 20-yard line, and we'll go. And, we're rotating guys through so we get work on both sides. If you're a center, you got to rotate through. If you're a running back or field guy, you got to rotate through. We'll rotate our tight ends in there to work our perimeter blocking schemes when we're doing the half-line stuff. And really, it's practice pace plays into the amount of offense we're allowed or we're able to teach, because the number of reps we can get into a 5-minute period, when you're getting, 15 to 20 reps in a 5-minute period, you're really helping for time. And we do that, and it's been successful for us. That's, really a lot of what plays into our ability to execute.
Now, during the course of this drill, one of the things I thought was very interesting is that you have your tailback back behind the quarterback. He goes through the handoff regimen, and then you have a coach or a manager pitching him a second ball to go through either the pitch phase side of the play or the bubble screen.
Absolutely. Every time we run an option play, we want to work all three phases of the option. So if we're running, the triple option play, our inside veer play, then, we want to have him riding the side every time. So we'll have a handoff tee. Normally it'll be a coach or a manager. He'll step down or he'll attack the mesh, or he won't attack the mesh. And if he doesn't, then, the quarterback's given the ball and they'll flip him another ball so that he can work off the pitch key and make a decision on the perimeter as well. And we feel it just makes our quarterback a lot more comfortable because he's used to working all three phases of the option. It keeps our slots involved, because even when he decides to keep the ball and makes the move to get vertical, he's going to work back to the outside and try and pitch the ball every single time. So we want everyone touching the ball every time we run an option play. Essentially, and everybody who's familiar with option knows this, you never know who's getting the ball, but you got to find a way to drill everyone getting the ball. So you don't want to cheat the drill in any way or cheat his reads, but you definitely want everyone, you want to work all the fundamentals of the option game every rep you get.
I think that's one of the things we'll approach the NCAA about in the next off season is giving two balls, and then that way the offense has more of an advantage. You have a give, and then you can flip out there, and the defense has to decide which one to stop.
Yeah, you're right.
But something tells me they're not going to let us do that.
Yeah, maybe they'll color code the ball, and only one of them you got to tackle.
All right, let's talk about some of the adjustments, because we've talked a lot of option and a lot of basic option. I think really for the most part, the option game out of the flex bone, you have a lot of the same things going on. So let's expand on what we've already talked about. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Coach Paul Markowski from Army here a couple of months ago. My question to him was, I'm going to ask you the same question. When you have a quarterback deeper in the backfield, I know in your video you said that you didn't want to get the mesh all tangled up as far as inside veer or midline, so you've got the quarterback backed up a little bit. Do you not think that this gives the defense a little bit of an advantage from seeing this play happen from maybe a step or two farther back to be able to react to this?
Well, yes and no. So that's something that we essentially have to deal with. So the way we deal with it, and that's what I talked about earlier when we talked about a set of compromises that we've got to have. So what we'll do is we'll spread our splits out wider. That'll get the handoff tee further away from our mesh point. So now, even though it gets a little further back and it gives him more time, now that he's further away, we feel that negates the defensive advantage. What the other advantage it gives us by having him just a little bit deeper is the fact that we don't have to leave the line of scrimmage. We can tie the line of scrimmage and still have a successful play. Now, obviously, you're driving people off the ball, and the more space that you can create, the better you'll be. but at least you have a chance of a successful play if you can stalemate the line of scrimmage.
Let's go ahead and talk about Ferris State a little bit. Coach, tell us a little bit about the school and what some of the pitches that you would tell folks about saying, okay, Johnny quarterback or Johnny wide receiver is thinking about coming to Ferris State. What's your recruiting pitch to tell him to come up there, other than, hey, we beat Grand Valley State a couple of times in a row here?
Yeah, well, we feel like that. Number one, our head football coach is a member of the Michigan High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame high school coach. He's spent 3 years at a junior college where he competed at the national level and claimed the national championship and was in on another one in his 3 years there. He's a guy who's never lost, an extremely competitive environment we've created, and it's an offense where you're going to get opportunities to touch the ball, and that's a big part of it. And we are going to move the football. We've been extremely successful in creating offense and creating opportunities for a lot of different players, and we feel like we've got it rolling. We've got a system that we've developed and continued to change over time. You know, we came in as a traditional option team, and our quarterback now this year, Jason Vanderlaan, he's as a redshirt sophomore. He broke the NCAA Division II single-season rushing record for quarterbacks that was set back in '88 or '89 at Wofford. And, you know, he's a Harlan Hill regional finalist this year, and he's 6'4", 240 pounds, and he's running a 4.6 plus 40. And, you know, so we've really kind of implemented an offense and evolved an offense around him and using him as a weapon, sometimes just a battering ram, and then, you know, using the players around him to spread the ball. And, you know, we've got 2 more years of it, and so we're really excited about what we've got and where we're headed offensively. And we've had some success in recruiting. You know, last year we were dubbed Division II's #1 recruiting class. I don't know how you arrive at that, but that was said on the internet and whatnot. So we're excited about who's coming and what we have in terms of football opportunities at Ferris State.
Sounds like you have a great collection of coaches up there, and you're getting some great bodies up there, and Ferris State's going to be a powerhouse for years to come here.
Yeah, that's our hope, you know, and that's what we're working towards every day. You know, we just got off the road. We've been on the road recruiting, you know, through the month of December, and you know, we're excited about some of the kids that we've got tabbed, and looking forward to, you know, carrying them home to signing day in February.
We're going to have more with Rob Zeitman when we come back. Let's go through with one of our brand new sponsors here. Back after this.
We're moving in a different direction.
Your first impression is everything when applying for a new coaching job. The key to getting a new job is to demonstrate to the hiring committee your level of organization, preparedness, and professionalism. A professional coaching portfolio is the tool that highlights your achievements, abilities, and most of all, helps you stand out from other job applicants. The Coaching Portfolio Guide is a new website that helps you develop a personalized portfolio. Get detailed instructions on how to organize your portfolio in a professional manner. It contains valuable advice, suggestions, sample documents that you can copy, modify, and add to your personal portfolio to help you land that job. Visit www.coachingportfolio.com today to download your copy of the Coaching Portfolio Guide. That's www.coachingportfolio.com.
Let me take you to a place in time where the top rolls down. The hippest cats and the coolest chicks play their radios loud. Hey everybody, did you ever stop to think what happened to...
Welcome back to the Mesh Point. Rob Zeitman, Ferris State University is our guest. We're talking pistol flex bone option, and they've got a really unique setup up there in Ferris State. They put together an offense which is very multiple and very efficient, not just on the ground but through the air as well. Let's talk about the ground game a little bit here. If you go to the videos, one of the videos up there gives a very good lesson plan on how they block multiple fronts, from a 4-2-5 nickel to a 4-3, where the outside linebackers are having to be spread out a little bit in order to give proper coverage defense against the slot receivers, not letting them just run behind them and squat down and catch 6-7 yard passes. I thought the plan for the 3-3-5 I thought was very unique. You don't see a whole lot of folks with the multiple blocking schemes out that hitting a 3-3-5 like you do and being able to hit the perimeter, because one of the things about the 3-3-5, they're trying to get bodies flowing to the outside to stop the option. Some folks say it's a little bit weak up the middle. I say, it just depends upon the people you've got up in there. If you've got a nose tackle who's a man, then you've got to do some things there. But one of the things, coaches, I did see from the cut-ups, you've got a couple of guys on the offensive line, especially the center. This guy's a stud.
Yeah. Our offensive line is good, and actually the center that you saw, we moved him to left guard this past year, and he took every snap there, and he's a really good player out of Romeo, Michigan, Adam Bennett, and he's one of our team captains. So, it's no surprise that a guy for an eye for football would see those cut-ups and say, wow, that kid's really good. He's been an honorable mention all-conference guy both years, and he's got 2 more years with us, so he's a really good football player.
Give me a little bit of an idea from an option standpoint, what you're looking for, or if you do have it, and you may or may not, just depending upon the people you have available to you right now. Do you have a body size or a body type that you're looking to put at some of the positions, like the number 1 wide out outside, left tackle?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can go through, we talk about it in recruiting all the time. We're not so concerned with the height of the offensive lineman. Obviously, tall guys are good, particularly at tackles. We ask our tackles, for instance, they're going to drive out on defensive ends. Typically, they're going to be a lot bigger than those defensive ends. Those defensive ends in our league run about 240 to 260, and they'll stand about 6'3", 6'4". So, our offensive linemen, for instance, this year, our starting left tackle was 285, 290, and our starting right tackle is about the same. So we're asking them, we want them to be able to hook block those guys, to be able to get leverage, outside leverage on them, in what we call drive reach and run reach techniques, and we want them to be able to drive the inside hip of those guys. And then the other thing that we really ask our tackles to do in the run game is we're going to veer release. Now, sometimes we'll veer release to the play side backer, other times we'll veer release into the backside backer, but so we need a guy who's got some good quickness, some good size to him. Height, not so much of a requirement as it may be in other offenses. We don't kick set a lot. We like to open our hip and really kind of shuffle off of some of the play action passing and stay on the inside number and pass protection. And that really kind of coincides with what some of the traditional I formation teams in college are doing right now. If you look at Alabama, they're not a vertical set passing team either. If you look at a Michigan State, they don't do that. So that's kind of where we are with that as well. So that's kind of our tackle position. Our guards are our best drive blockers. They're the guys who got to create space and drive block. We also horn them through holes at times, and that's a term that we use in Michigan. It's kind of a Bo Schembechler term, I guess, where you're pulling a guy, keeping his shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage, and getting him into the A gap or B gap. Do that. So we'll pull a lot of our linemen. We wrap our linemen around each other, so they've got to be agile enough to do that. So if it's a tight end blocking down on a 5 technique and the tackle wrapping around for the inside backer, or the guard blocking out on a 4 technique and the tackle wrapping inside for the inside backer, or the center and guard doing the same types of things with each other. We do a lot of that. We want guys who are athletic, and not only do they have to be athletic when they get there, but we're going to coach them at pace to have them run and run a lot through our O-line drills. We do a lot of that pacing stuff. Our center's the guy who really he's going to be the captain of that offensive line. He's going to make those calls and let us know the front and different schemes that we're running. We've really kind of diversified this past year where we're running 2 plays at once, where we'll have 2 front side schemes. Well, our center has to kind of square that away for us. So we're doing some of that, and that's kind of the O-line. The quarterback, we want a dual threat guy. We'll play to his strengths. If he's more of a passer, we'll work that. If he's a ball distributor, we'll do that. If he's a battering ram like the kid we've got, then we'll create some different things, complementary things for him to kind of get the ball and get the ball downhill. When we're looking at slots, we want dynamic guys. They can be shorter guys, but we need guys who are quick get the ball on the perimeter and roll, they're also very aggressive blockers and take pride in that. So, that's kind of where we are with that. Our receivers, we'd like the prototypical D1 receiver that's 6'4" and runs the 4.40. We're in Michigan, so we'd like to have Megatron on both sides. That's really unrealistic, obviously, but we try and get guys who can both block and be a part of the passing game. So the bigger the better in terms of that. And then, of course, our running back, we ask him not only to mesh and work hard off of that, but right now, the way our quarterback is situated, he's going to be a lead blocker at times, too. Our tight end H-backs, we'd like to have currently our kid returning 6'5", 225, 230. So he's kind of an undersized guy in terms of blocking, but he's a kid who can find holes underneath, and we can kind of post him up and get him the ball at times. So that's kind of where we are in terms of trying to identify the type of players we have or we want to recruit. Obviously, when you're recruiting, you're never going to get the same thing, so you kind of play off of their strengths, and the offense continues and will always be in an evolution process. And it has to be, and that's part of coaching, and that's what makes it fun. That's what we all signed up to do. So that's kind of where we stand in trying to evaluate our personnel and get guys that fit that mold on the field.
Since we've already gone through the setup as far as the pistol flex bone, we've identified line splits, we've talked about depths of different players. Let's go ahead and talk about where you would start now. And you mentioned a term in one of the videos called universal motion. Tell us a little bit about that.
When we send a slot in motion, we want it to be undetectable. We want it to look the same no matter what we're doing. So if we're motioning across, we want, even if we're moving across in front of the quarterback, we want it to almost look like he's going in orbit motion. So that it makes it harder for those safeties to adjust. And one of the things you used to do against the old flexbone teams is as soon as you'd see him go in orbit motion, you could rotate a certain way. And then if he was motioning across the formation, you would rotate. Maybe you would have a different rotation in terms of your secondary or linebackers in order to defend that, because it's kind of a tip-off in terms of the plays you're running. So we want our motion to be undetectable. So if we're going to go in short motion to insert, we want it to make it look like we're motioning across the formation or we're motioning in orbit motion. The more universal we can be and the less predictable we can be, we feel like the more the defense has to defend everything up until the snap.
We have a little bit of a base now in which to work with in approaching this offense. Your biggest play is, from what I've seen in the video, the marquee play you feature is inside veer.
Yeah, it's where we start. It's the first play that we teach, and everything comes off of that. So we start day one in the spring. We start with inside veer and midline veer, and those are our two mesh points, and everything could come off of that. Now, where the offense heads after that, in terms of play calling and game planning and those things, may not feature those plays in a given week, but certainly that's our teaching progression and something that we believe in. So if we get into trouble and feel like we can't move the ball, it's, hey, how do we manipulate a defense to run inside veer? How do we manipulate that defense to run midline and kind of get our feet underneath us and feel good about ourselves again?
As we mentioned before, Ferris State is no huddle. They go in, they line up. You have a myriad of formations that you use, a myriad of different personnel. You'll bring in an H-back. You'll go 4 wide. I saw you run a couple of tight ends. I've seen you go 3 tight ends. So when you go through the decision-making process on mixing and matching formats, oh, and I forgot this one. You were running inside veer off a punch concept too. So when you put all these formations in and you have a core group of plays, and it didn't seem like you had that many running plays, so it's very easy to repeat the same plays just having people in different formations. How do you approach inside veer with the myriad of formations that you have? Because obviously the defense is going to line up a little bit different. I know that you do a lot of arcing, you do a lot of cracking, you do a lot of pulling. Is there a particular formula that you keep in mind when you install this offense in the summer as, okay, we're going to start here?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And the devil's in the details, and all of that is coaching and trying to get defensive players out of position, but in a given game plan, and just to make sure that defensive coordinator's covered everything and those players are comfortable defending everything, try and be as multiple as we are. But I think you're right. it all comes down to just kind of executing specific techniques and fundamentals. So when we teach offensive line play, for instance, and you're going to do a release move, which is our veer release, we teach every single player, including tight ends, veer release, and say, what are you supposed to do when you veer release? And players inevitably going to answer, I stretch my split. So, okay, when we work double teams and, you've got the center and the guard, and we always say it's heavy guard, light center, or heavy center, light guard, depending on who's going to drive and who's going to get their hips to the other player's hip. So, we teach all of our players those types of things. The same thing is true on the perimeter. When we're teaching perimeter blocking, we're constantly talking about leverage and playing on the top shoulder and keeping your hands and feet active and playing defense in basketball and those types of things. So really it comes down to teaching the techniques and fundamentals. If they're familiar with those and they're comfortable with those and they'll play at a faster speed, number one, on game day, and number two, we're just applying those to the various scenarios. So that's kind of how we approach it and how we operate with it, and it's taken to the kids. They really enjoy it.
How much control does the quarterback have at the line of scrimmage? Starts to simulate the snap count, and they freeze. He looks over, he gets the play. Does the quarterback in your offense, and I understand, I believe you had a sophomore quarterback here within the last year or two, does he have the power to say, okay, we're going to flip sides as to which way we're going?
Yeah, the faster you go, or the faster you want to go, the more control you're going to have to cede to your quarterback. So, because the scenario that you just presented where, you go through the snap and then you look over to the sideline, that's not a fast pace. And what you end up doing is you're saying, okay, we're going to survey and then we're going to call the play. Well, at the same time, the defense is essentially, we're going to show a defense, now you're going to set your play, now we're going to change our defense. So it becomes a little bit of a cat and mouse game. So if you're going to play the cat and mouse game, your quarterback has to be up to speed, and he's got to be able to either check a side or check into a better play, depending on how that defense rotates into that. There are two things that you can do to kind of deal with that. Number one, speed it up, or number two is give your quarterback greater control from the outset in terms of getting you into the right play. And there are some things that we do that we've picked off from teams like Oregon in terms of, giving the quarterback dual reads where we're calling a run play. It might be midline or inside veer or whatever the run play is. And then also on the outside on the perimeter, we're going to put in, a pass concept so that we have an automatic, something that you watch different professional teams or college teams do. And in the off season, you kind of go and talk to some of those coaches and see some of their cut-ups. There are still some things you can do on the backside. If you're running inside veer to the right, that backside receiver, what do you expect him to do? Well, if you put in passing concept for him, perhaps if they're going to run in the alley and rotate their safeties, you might be able to get him underneath that cornerback and get him vertical for a big gain. So there's some things that you can exploit in terms of that really help you out. If you have a savvy quarterback, and you'll have a savvy quarterback if you teach him to be savvy and prepare him for that, you can kind of deal with some of those eventualities and become a little bit more explosive than you otherwise would be.
The whole video is just, the series itself is just a great series, and if anybody's running the spread option, I highly recommend you getting this video. When you look at the outside, he talks about soft corners, he talks about the attacking of the corners and taking up space and attacking the slot defenders and attacking the safeties. What is the one thing that you tell your receivers as far as approaching a potential attacker to the option and how you block them?
Well, we tell them that leverage is key, and that if they're going to be soft, then we want to be hard, and if they're going to be hard, then you're just going to move your feet and get in his way. So that's some of the principles that we'll use in terms of perimeter blocking. Essentially, what we've got to figure out is who's triggering in the run game. Somebody's going to set the edge of that defense. It's either going to be the corner or the alley defender or the safety. And if it's the corner, if he's triggering, then we want to man block that guy with our receiver, and we don't want to do what we set out to do initially in that switch block, meaning release the receiver to the safety and come with the slot to block the corner. So if it's the alley defender, that's normally the pitch key, so that's not a problem. The alley defender is what we term the outside linebacker to be. And then if it's the safety that's rolling down, then if he gets down there too early, too fast for our receiver, then again, we can switch our scheme to accommodate that. So it's having flexibility. Really, it's going back to spring and teaching it in such a way that our players are empowered to put themselves in the proper position to be successful, so that they can switch a scheme and they feel comfortable enough doing that because they know why they got to do it. So it's pointing out guys as they're coming and saying, he's hot, here he comes, switch the scheme and doing those types of things. And they'll communicate both verbally and with hand signals, to get that done. So it's something that has worked for us and keeping plays alive where otherwise you might have to check out of a play.
Rob Zeitman is my guest. Next we'll be talking passing game. Yeah.
The CompuSports Radio Network.
For over 10 years, Option Central has been the place where football coaches go to implement an option offense, to fine-tune an option attack, and to better understand and defend their opponent's explosive option-oriented offenses. OptionCentral.net, the premier site for all things option football. Started by a high school football coach to provide specialized resources geared specifically toward coaches of option football. Articles, videos, forums, podcasts, ebooks, available 24/7 from any computer with internet access. Ideas, insights, and coaching points from some of the most respected names in option football, including an extensive collection of material from coaches Jerry Campbell and Larry Beckish. Cost-effective, convenient, with membership plans to fit any budget. Ready to improve your option football coaching skills? It's time to join OptionCentral.net right now.
Without you, I can't stand the dot over. I can't stand the dot over. I can't stand the dot over. Without you.
Rob Zeitman, Ferris State University, Big Rapids, Michigan, beat Grand Valley State 2 years in a row. I saw the video and I thought it was his first year. I thought it was a brand new video. Shows you what I know. Coach, let's talk passing game. I'm a little bit intelligent in that area, so I might be able to stick with you a little bit there. You run a lot of what you call bench arrow, where your number one receiver is running a corner, and then you have a back or maybe a slot receiver running what you call, I think it's an arrow, and you're running a flat route to the sideline.
Right.
That was our spider combination. I think John Gruden referred to it spider 2, spider 3, Y banana, something like that. We're looking on a high-low combination outside on whoever's in the flat, or maybe we're trying to beat a linebacker to the flat, and you run a lot of this.
Right, we do. Our league plays a lot of two-shell to the boundary, and so, a lot of times we'll just release the back into that flat and make that butt backer run with him and see what they're going to do. Are they going to be a true two-shell and deal with that, or the corner's going to sit, or are they going to get depth with our receiver? And we've got a number of combinations we work out of that where it might be, slant arrow or fade arrow or a flat route with a hook or a bench, like you said. So there's a number of different ways we can approach it, but that's certainly, a concept that's been good to us, particularly as an option team, where that butt backer's attached to the box and he's thinking run, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're able to kind of outflank him and get wider than him faster, and really helps us out a lot.
Your quarterback seems to be very accurate in dropping that ball over the inside shoulder, running that corner route. Notice that in the clips as well. And one of the things that I did notice, and it looks like you teach your quarterback this, and he's picked up on this also, since we were a power sweep team, one of the things you would see in an adjustment of running to the strength of the formation is that they would rotate the linebackers over a little bit. They would take him off the outside of the rush end out there. The rush end might get a little bit wider, but he's lined up a little bit inside, and which sets up this route beautifully. We go to the line, he hollers West Virginia, which to us was weak side vertical. We're playing that high-low now, and we've got balls going to the flat all day. And it seems like that's one of the things that you were able to do against a lot of these defenses.
We do that to the boundary a number of different ways, and we'll even use a naked concept or a bootleg concept out of it, which is really a West Coast deal where we'll fake the jet sweep to one side and work our running back to the flat back over there and work a corner route and the drag route from the front side over there and really try and flood that area and make that buck backer wrong every single time. And, we'll also work 4 verticals off it in a 2x2 set where we'll fake a veer read off a midline mesh and hopefully get that buck to attach himself to the run game and take that step up to defend the run, and then we can kind of hit that seam over the top of him. So that boundary side has been really good to us, particularly in third down passing and just trying to work the creases to keep defenders honest.
Another thing I noticed about your video, you run a lot of not only just play action passes, of course, which you had discussed earlier, out of each run, but also you use a lot in the quick passing game, and it's usually predicated on the type of coverage you're seeing and depth of the defenders and everything.
Yeah, if we see one high stuff, then we feel like slant arrow or fade arrow or hitch seam are really good to us. If we see too high stuff, then you'll see us with a quick out and quick corner combination and those types of things, or you'll see us with a slant and a seam combination, just trying to work guys into open spaces and settle them down and really take the pressure off the quarterback. I mean, he's reading one guy off the snap, and it's an either-or deal in the quick passing game, so it's easy for him to do and really kind of takes the pressure off of him in terms of the run game, because now, you get those linebackers that are spreading out just a little bit wider to try and those windows a little bit smaller for him to kind of thread it in there, which again opens up the run game for us. So everything's predicated on run first. We're about 3,500 yards rushing and about 2,000 yards passing this past year, and we were able to kind of if-then them, and get them playing in space and run the ball inside, and then get them to where they're locking down on the option game and really defending that and be able to gather some good pass plays.
I know that when you're playing a one high or a cover 3 team, and you and I discussed this a little bit earlier, you see that safety, he's going to come down and stick his nose in there and fill an alley, or maybe he's the pitch guy. He sees everything going laterally. He's taken off now, and he's taken himself right out of position for a play-action pass coming in behind him. And you've got a crack seam, which is very effective at that.
Yeah, we love the crack seam. That's our first play-action install. We go crack seam, and the number 2 receivers running the sideline route, and then we'll have a check down as really the pitch back off the option fake. So we put that in with a 6-man protection, so we feel like we've got time for the quarterback to do what he needs to do, and then he's just reading that guy run the alley. As soon as that kid takes that third step to the alley where he's trying to be the extra defender at the point of attack on option, we know we got him beat. We can hit that seam route pretty nice, and we're double vertical on that side, and the nice thing about it is that they're at different levels, so he can read the crack to seam, and if the safety stays high, then he can come back to that sideline route, and he throws it like a fade where only our guy can catch it, or it goes out of bounds, and we're good to go. And it couples nicely with our blocking scheme, our base perimeter blocking scheme, which is our number 1 wide receiver goes and cracks the safety, and then we arc for the corner. So it's literally the passing route off of that blocking scheme. So we try and make all those moving parts look alike and then hit them for a big one.
I mean, as a defensive coordinator, even if you don't hit it, to see receivers running open deep in your secondary, that puts something in the pit of your stomach that says, we dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah, we're hoping that the next time that safety thinks twice before he runs that alley, thinking, is this guy really coming to block me, or is he trying to work off me and get vertical? So it's the patience of that receiver will make that work. Does he kind of shuffle his feet and settle in as if he's going to block and then work vertical off that top shoulder of the safety, or is he just running the route? If he's just running that route, then we could be in trouble, and a savvy safety will stay over the top of that. But if he really sells that as a block, as a crack, and then works the seam, then we feel really good about our chances to get over the top of that one high safety look.
You've also got a couple of patterns which work in conjunction with your jet sweep package. You've got double dig, you've got double post. They work very similar off each other, and by looking at the film, with the double dig, too high safety, I'm throwing in front of that safety all day long because the linebackers are running lateral. The slot back has now gotten behind him. He's cutting up, looking for a window. Ball's going to be right there. Safety has no shot.
Yeah, it's huge for us, and the double dig's a great third down play for us, or second and need the chains play for us, and we like it a lot. We like the double post as well because we feel like that number 2 receiver is going to clear out the safety, and we just want to get inside of that corner with the number 1 post route and see what we can get, because we got a guy coming up the sideline off the play action who seemingly always is open. With the underneath coverage has to run with him, and as soon as they turn their back to run with him, even if we don't get the 2 posts working up the field, we can get that sideline route really nice. So those are 2 routes that have been good to us. The downside of those routes is that they're 5-man protection, so we have to be better in pass protection in order to pull that off. But then again, we don't see a lot of the fire zone schemes that a lot of colleges will see because we are an option team. So we don't have to run an option play every time, but they have to defend an option play every time. We're really willing to run the ball on 3rd and medium and even 3rd and long because we feel like our passing game is effective when we pass when we want to pass, not when we feel like down and distance dictates us to pass. So, we feel like there's some times where it'll be, we were in a 4th and 5 and literally ran trap because they went nickel with 3 down, 2 linebacker look and spread all over the field. And we're able to gain it. So, we feel like we can mix it up a little bit, and that makes our passing game even more effective. But that double dig route's really nice, particularly, we like it in 2-minute situations and hurry-up situations. We're trying to force the tempo. But they're simple combinations to teach and very effective when executed properly.
Well, and finally, I think that my last comment here has to do with the patience of your quarterback. He understands he's not sitting back there waiting for things to develop. He's got the ball. He's executed his fake. He goes through his options 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Ball's away. He understands he is safe in that regard.
Yeah, we will talk a lot about launch point and timing in terms of our protection schemes. And our quarterback understands that very well. And he'll go through his progressions, 1, 2, 3, like you said, and he's not afraid to take off. If he sees man too deep, I think I heard we were in a hotel room Friday night watching the University of Louisville play, and Teddy Bridgewater comes off at halftime. They said, you just ran for 30 yards. How'd you do that? He goes, well, my coach says I see man too deep. That converts to a quarterback run. So he understands that as well. Our guy does. And Jason, as a redshirt sophomore, had a phenomenal year, like we talked about earlier, and he's just getting better and better. His biggest improvements are in the passing game, and we're hoping that with his production in the run game, we'll set a Ferris State record for a 3rd year in single-season rushing and still hopefully break the bank passing-wise again. So he's just getting better and better with those reads and the timing of it all, and his best football is ahead of him.
Coach, if somebody has a question, they want to email you, contact you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can email me, and my email address is at our school's website, or you can go to pistoloptionoffense.com and email me through there, which is where those videos are also available. And there'll be updates from year 2 as well as we head out on the clinic circuit through the Glazer clinics and whatnot. I think I'll be in Dallas, Texas in late February, early March. So
if you're looking to catch these videos, they're available out there right now. I believe pistoloptionoffense.com, I believe, is one place to get those videos.
Yep, absolutely. And also, if you're a member of Option Central, I know they've got those up there as well, and we'll have updates for this year. And kind of really saying, here's where the offense was in year 1, and here's where we've taken it in year 2. The complementary plays that we found that are working for us now, and where it's really the next step in the in the evolution of that offense. So,
Rob Zeitman, Ferris State University. Coach, I want to thank you for coming on the program, and I want to extend the invitation to have you back.
John, it was my pleasure, and certainly, you got my number. Just give me a call. I'd love to come back, and it's great to talk football with you and to be able to share some of our ideas with the coaching community. It's really not about trade secrets and hiding what we do, but just it comes down to teaching kids and teaching them concepts and then getting comfortable with those concepts. And we feel like we've got something that's really headed in the right direction, and hopefully we'll continue to have that kind of success. But only time will tell, right?
There you go. I want trade secrets. I really do, but the GOAT keeps telling everybody everything, and I've got nothing. So I want to keep a trade secret. Thank you once again, Coach, for coming on the program. Thank you to everyone listening to the show here today. If you want to contact me, my email address is johnjohn@CompuSportsRadio.com. We extend the invitation for everybody to join us over at CompuSportsMedia.com. The Coach's Corner Radio Show, a high-impact, high-information program over there. And we thank you all for catching us here on the Mesh Point here at CompuSports at CompuSportsRadio.com. Once again, PistolOptionOffense.com. That's where you'll find Coach Zeitman. And we hope you have a great clinic season, Coach, and good luck in 2014.
Thank you very much, John, and good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. You all have a great year, everybody. We'll talk to you all next month.